Chicago, known as the Windy City, is a city with a rich and fascinating history that has played a significant role in shaping American history. From its humble beginnings as a small trading post in the early 1800s, Chicago quickly grew into a bustling metropolis and became a major center of industry, commerce, and culture. Its strategic location on the shores of Lake Michigan and its proximity to the Mississippi River made it an ideal hub for transportation and trade. Over the years, Chicago has faced numerous challenges and triumphs, from devastating fires to the rise of notorious gangsters during Prohibition. Despite these setbacks, Chicago has always managed to rise from the ashes and reinvent itself, leaving behind a lasting legacy in American history. The rise of gangsters in Chicago during Prohibition. One of the most notorious periods in Chicago's history was during Prohibition, when the sale, production, and distribution of alcohol were banned in the United States from 1920 to 1933. This era gave rise to a new breed of criminals known as gangsters, who took advantage of the lucrative illegal alcohol trade. The most infamous of these gangsters was Al Capone, who became the de facto ruler of Chicago's underworld during this time. Prohibition had a profound impact on Chicago. The city became a hotbed of illegal activity, with speakeasies and underground bars popping up all over town. Gangsters like Capone controlled these establishments and made millions of dollars from bootlegging operations. They also engaged in other criminal activities such as gambling, prostitution, and extortion. The rise of gangsters in Chicago had a significant influence on the city's culture and reputation. It became known as a place where lawlessness reigned and where corruption was rampant. The violence associated with gang warfare was also a major concern for law enforcement. The police force was often outgunned and outmanned by the well-organized and heavily armed gangs. This led to a rise in public fear and a loss of faith in the ability of law enforcement to maintain order. The infamous St. Valentine's Day Massacre and its impact on Chicago. One of the most notorious events during the era of gangsters in Chicago was the St. Valentine's Day Massacre, which occurred on February 14, 1929. It was a brutal and highly publicized event that shocked the nation and further tarnished Chicago's reputation. The massacre was the result of a power struggle between Al Capone's gang and a rival gang led by George "Bugs" and Moran. Capone wanted to eliminate Moran and his gang to solidify his control over the illegal alcohol trade in Chicago. On that fateful day, 7 members of Moran's gang were lined up against a wall in a garage on North Clark Street and gunned down by 4 men dressed as police officers. The St. Valentine's Day Massacre had a profound impact on Chicago. It exposed the brutality and ruthlessness of the city's gangsters, and it also highlighted the inability of law enforcement to bring them to justice. The event shocked the nation and led to increased pressure on the government to take action against organized crime. It also further damaged Chicago's reputation as a city plagued by violence and lawlessness. The Great Chicago Fire and its aftermath. One of the most significant events in Chicago's history was the Great Chicago Fire, which occurred in October 1871. The fire started in a small barn on DeKoven Street and quickly spread due to strong winds and dry conditions. It raged for 3 days, destroying thousands of buildings and leaving more than 100,000 people homeless. The causes of the fire are still debated today, but it is believed to have been started by a cow knocking over a lantern in the barn. The fire spread rapidly, fueled by the city's wooden buildings and a lack of firefighting resources. Despite the efforts of the fire department and volunteers, the fire could not be contained. The Great Chicago Fire had a devastating impact on the city. It destroyed much of the downtown area, including the business district and many residential neighborhoods. The fire also claimed the lives of hundreds of people and left thousands homeless. However, in the aftermath of the fire, Chicago experienced a remarkable transformation. The city was rebuilt with more durable materials such as brick and stone, and new building codes were put in place to prevent future disasters. This rebuilding effort led to a period of rapid growth and development for Chicago, making it one of the most modern and innovative cities in the world. The World's Columbian Exposition of 1893 and its legacy. One of the most significant events in Chicago's history was the World's Columbian Exposition, also known as the Chicago World's Fair, which took place in 1893. The fair was held to celebrate the 400th anniversary of Christopher Columbus' arrival in the New World and to showcase Chicago's progress and achievements. The World's Columbian Exposition had a profound impact on Chicago. It put the city on the map as a major cultural and economic center and attracted millions of visitors from around the world. The fair featured impressive exhibits and attractions, including the first Ferris wheel, which was designed and built by George Ferris Jr., a Chicago engineer. The legacy of the World's Columbian Exposition can still be seen in Chicago today. Many of the fair's buildings were designed by renowned architects such as Daniel Burnham and Louis Sullivan, who helped shape Chicago's architectural landscape. The fair also had a lasting impact on American culture, introducing new inventions and ideas that would shape the future. The birth of skyscrapers and Chicago's architectural marvels. Chicago is often referred to as the birthplace of the skyscraper, and for good reason. The city's unique combination of geography, transportation infrastructure, and innovative architects made it the perfect place for the development of tall buildings. The development of skyscrapers in Chicago began in the late 19th century with the construction of the Home Insurance Building in 1885. Designed by William LeBaron Jenney, it was the first building to use a steel frame structure, which allowed for greater height and stability. This innovation paved the way for the construction of even taller buildings in the years to come. Chicago is home to many famous skyscrapers that have become iconic symbols of the city. The Willis Tower, formerly known as the Sears Tower, was once the tallest building in the world and is still one of the most recognizable landmarks in Chicago. Other notable buildings include the John Hancock Center, the Tribune Tower, and the Aqua Tower. The development of skyscrapers in Chicago had a profound impact on architecture. It revolutionized building design and construction techniques, allowing for taller and more efficient buildings. It also transformed the city's skyline and became a source of pride for Chicagoans. The role of Chicago in the Industrial Revolution. Chicago played a crucial role in the Industrial Revolution in America. The city's strategic location on Lake Michigan and its access to railroads and waterways made it an ideal center for manufacturing and transportation. During the late 19th and early 20th centuries, Chicago became a major hub for industries such as meatpacking, steel production, and manufacturing. The city's stockyards were among the largest in the world, processing millions of animals each year. The steel industry also thrived in Chicago, with companies like U.S. Steel and Republic Steel establishing large plants in the city. The Industrial Revolution had a profound impact on Chicago's growth and development. It attracted millions of immigrants from around the world who were seeking employment opportunities in the city's factories and industries. This influx of people led to a rapid increase in population and a transformation of Chicago into a major urban center. The Chicago Race Riots of 1919 and the struggle for civil rights. The Chicago Race Riots of 1919 were a series of violent clashes between white and black residents in Chicago. The riots were sparked by racial tensions and economic competition between the two groups. The causes of the riots were complex and multifaceted. African Americans who had migrated to Chicago from the South in search of better opportunities faced discrimination and segregation in housing, employment, and education. This led to overcrowding in black neighborhoods and increased competition for jobs and resources. The riots began on July 27, 1919, when a black teenager named Eugene Williams was killed by a white man after he crossed an imaginary racial boundary at a segregated beach. The incident sparked days of violence, with mobs of white residents attacking black neighborhoods and businesses. The riots resulted in the deaths of dozens of people, mostly black, and caused extensive property damage. The Chicago Race Riots had a significant impact on the civil rights movement in Chicago. They highlighted the systemic racism and discrimination faced by African Americans in the city and led to increased activism and advocacy for civil rights. The riots also exposed the need for social and economic reforms to address racial inequality in Chicago. The Chicago Cubs and the legacy of baseball in the city. Baseball has a long and storied history in Chicago, with the city being home to two Major League Baseball teams, the Chicago Cubs and the Chicago White Sox. The Cubs, in particular, have a rich history that dates back to 1876 when they were founded as the Chicago White Stockings. The Cubs have had their fair share of successes and failures over the years. They have won multiple National League pennants and World Series championships, including back-to-back titles in 1907 and 1908. However, they also endured a long championship drought that lasted over a century, finally ending in 2016 when they won their first World Series since 1908. Baseball has had a significant impact on Chicago's culture and identity. The Cubs, in particular, have a loyal and passionate fan base that has supported the team through thick and thin. Wrigley Field, the Cubs' home stadium, is one of the oldest ballparks in the country and is known for its unique charm and atmosphere. The cultural renaissance of the 1920s and Chicago's literary scene. The 1920s was a period of cultural renaissance in Chicago, known as the Roaring Twenties. The city became a center of artistic and intellectual activity, attracting writers, artists, musicians, and intellectuals from around the country. Chicago's literary scene flourished during this time, with writers such as Carl Sandburg, Theodore Dreiser, and Sherwood Anderson making significant contributions to American literature. The city's vibrant literary community was centered around the Chicago Literary Renaissance, a movement that sought to capture the essence of urban life and explore themes of social change and cultural identity. The impact of Chicago's literary scene on American literature cannot be overstated. Many of the works produced during this time reflected the social and cultural changes taking place in America, such as the rise of consumerism, the changing role of women, and the disillusionment following World War. These works helped shape the modernist movement in literature and influenced future generations of writers. Chicago's past and its enduring legacy in American history. In conclusion, Chicago's history is a fascinating tale of triumphs and challenges that have shaped American history. From its humble beginnings as a small trading post to its rise as a major industrial and cultural center, Chicago has always been at the forefront of innovation and progress. The rise of gangsters during Prohibition, the devastating Great Chicago Fire, and the cultural renaissance of the 1920s are just a few examples of the challenges and triumphs that have defined Chicago's history. Despite these setbacks, Chicago has always managed to rise from the ashes and reinvent itself, leaving behind a lasting legacy in American history. Today, Chicago continues to be a vibrant and dynamic city that embraces its past while looking towards the future. Its architectural marvels, cultural institutions, and rich history make it a must-visit destination for anyone interested in American history and culture. Chicago's enduring legacy can be seen in its iconic skyline, its diverse neighborhoods, and its vibrant arts and music scene. It is a city that continues to inspire and captivate people from all walks of life. Step into the vibrant streets of Chicago's past with Chicago History, Part 2 by the enchanting Serafina Everhart. This thrilling sequel takes readers on an exhilarating journey through the city's rich tapestry, delving deep into its hidden chapters and uncovering secrets long buried beneath the surface. Everhart's masterful storytelling brings to life the tumultuous era of Prohibition, where speakeasies thrived in the shadows and the St. Valentine's Day Massacre left an indelible mark on the city's history. From the birth of the Chicago Blues to the pivotal moments of the civil rights movement, each page resonates with the resilience and spirit of Chicagoans past and present. As you traverse the iconic landmarks and cultural milestones that define the Windy City, Everhart's meticulous research and vivid narrative style transport you back in time, making Chicago History, Part 2, an essential companion for anyone captivated by the allure of Chicago's storied past. Whether you're a history enthusiast or an urban explorer, prepare to be enthralled by the untold tales and hidden gems that await within the pages of this captivating chronicle. Order your copy on Amazon now.